if you're going to call persons out of Babylon, if you're going to warn persons about the image of the beast and receiving the mark of the beast, how is it that you are going to be worshiping on the very same day that the papacy in Laudato Si refer to Sunday as the Sabbath? Greetings. I am doing this video to follow up with the fact that there is now a growing issue surrounding keeping the Sabbath based on the new moons. So by saying that based on the new moons, I understand from the person who explained it to me, who is observing the Sabbath this way based on the new moon, that their Saturday Sabbath, and that was my first mistake. Sabbath does not always fall on Saturday as a result, because you're not using the Gregorian calendar, and therefore whenever they map the calendar that God has given based on the new moon over the Gregorian calendar, sometimes Sabbath may fall on a Sunday, sometimes Sabbath may fall on a Monday, may fall on a Tuesday. And so I just have one basic question to ask in all of this, and please provide your answer in the comment section. And I will, from this, will determine whether or not you really understand the road that you're going down. And I'm just doing this out of concern, something to help you think, something that you will prayerfully go and reflect on, right? And I'm going to start with Christian Service, page 40. And this is what it says. Satan is now working with all his insinuating, deceiving power to lead men away from the work of the third angel's message, which is to be proclaimed with mighty power. When the enemy sees that the Lord is blessing his people and preparing them to discern his delusions, he will work his masterly power to bring in fanaticism on one hand and cold formalism on the other, that he may gather in a harvest of souls. It says, now is the time to watch unceasingly. Watch for the first step of advance that Satan may make among us. Christian Service, page 40. The first sentence alone, Satan is now working with all his insinuating, deceiving power to lead men away from the work of the third angel's message. Right? Now, if you understand what is involved in the third angel's message, as a matter of fact, let us read the third angel's message in Revelation chapter 14. The third angel's message in Revelation chapter 14, verse 9 says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And then verse 12 says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The third angel's message is what Satan wants to distract us from. Right? The third angel's message warns against the image of the beast and also receiving the mark of the beast. Now, if we understand the third angel's message, you recognize that the first angel's message is in the third angel's message. The second angel's message is also in the third angel's message. What is involved in the third angel's message? Receiving the mark of the beast. And we as Seventh-day Adventists have always looked at the reception of the mark of the beast to be tied to the enforcement of Sunday. Right? We know that the first angel's message is in the third angel's message because it says, worship him that made the heavens, the earth, the fountains of waters. And as a result of that, what was set up as a memorial for creation? It was not the feast days that were set up as a memorial for creation. It was the weekly seventh-day Sabbath, the weekly cyclic seventh-day Sabbath. I have a question now for you. If it is then that your Sabbath, according to the new moon, may fall on a Sunday, your Sabbath according to your calendar, and not going by the Gregorian calendar, may fall on a Monday, how can you preach the third angel's message if you're warning persons against receiving the mark of the beast, against worship, giving worship to the beast? Ultimately, Satan, through the papal system and authority, through the civil systems and authority that will be enforcing this. When you are keeping Sabbath on Sunday and considering that Sunday to be a holy day, and the world is going to look on you keeping Sunday as Sabbath and believe what you are saying is true, you are going to keep Sunday as Sabbath sometimes throughout the year, and you're going to go now and preach against persons receiving the mark of the beast, which is the spirit of Sabbath being enforced upon men, and you are going to now say that you're going to call men out of Babylon, you're going to call men to worship the creator of heaven and earth and the seas and the fountains of water. How can you be a part of this? Jesus himself says in Matthew 24 verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness, and then shall the end come. Revelation 14 says, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every kindred, nation, tongue, and people. So the point is to say, if you are going to be a part of the last day people that will point persons to fearing God, that will point persons to the memorial of his creation, which is the weekly 7-day Sabbath, not according to a new moon, if you're going to call persons out of Babylon, if you're going to warn persons about the image of the beast and receiving the mark of the beast, how is it that you are going to be worshiping on the very same day that the papacy in Laudato Si refer to Sunday as the Sabbath, which we know Sunday as the spurious Sabbath, a false Sabbath that will be enforced? You have just created a very confusing situation. You have just created a situation where well-thinking men who look upon you now, you say that you're keeping the Sabbath according to God's plan, and when they look on you, you are also that very same day that will soon be enforced, you are also keeping it and saying this day is a Sabbath. So then if you keep it some days and they keep it all the time, then they will say, hey, I guess we don't really have a problem. So we're going down the wrong road. You are going down the wrong road, and I hope that you carefully think. You cannot be a part of them that warn persons against receiving the mark of the beast in his forehead or in his hand if you are also keeping it on a Sunday. You are actually taking a step away from the established truth. You're coming off the platform and you're re-examining the foundation that God has given us. Truths that have been hammered out and ironed out, that cannot be rebutted. But you have come up with many forms of maneuvering the scriptures as it pertains to the ceremonial feast Sabbaths. This is the danger, because the test, and I'm sticking to the one quotation. It says here, what is the objective of Satan? When the enemy sees that the Lord is blessing his people and preparing them to discern his delusions, he will work with his masterly power to bring in fanaticism on one hand and cold formalism on the other. And what is the objective? That he may gather in a harvest of souls. What you're working towards will cause persons to become confused and lost. Persons who would otherwise have accepted the truth have been influenced by the Spirit's doctrine. I again repeat, if you're going to be preaching the third angel's message, carefully re-examine your foundation. If you're going to be preaching the three angels' message, which Christ himself identifies as a part of the end, the closing up word that his faithful messengers will preach? Are you not going to redefine what the mark of the beast is? Are you not going to redefine these aspects that point to the weekly Sabbath? You are standing on shaky, sifting sand. You're not standing up on the rock of the word of God of truth. You have put yourself in a position where you will not be able to preach it because you will be contradicting it. That is the danger of fanaticism. We start to go down a road where we do not see where it will tend. But the word of God has worn out many, is an anvil that has worn out many hammers. And there are other pointers that I could have made, but I want to stick to that one central point. You cannot preach a third angel's message. You will not be able to preach a three angels message if you accept this system of keeping the Sabbath in this fashion according to the new moon. Carefully consider. I would love to hear your responses, and by God's grace I pray that you will prayerfully consider what I've just said in this brief video, and I also hope that you will come to your senses on this matter. You know, I had to just add this point. You know, when I made the point about, so therefore you're going to redefine what the mark of the beast is, because when the Sunday law will be enforced, is it that you have cast out the testimonies? Is it that you have cast out also your belief as to what the Sunday law is? And if then the Sunday law is going to be passed and persons are going to be forced to keep reverence this Sunday, are you now going to say that, listen, on God's calendar, this day is not really Sunday? Because quite obviously, if your Sabbath is going to be adjusted, then Sunday is also going to be adjusted. And your Sunday will not line up with the Sunday that the world will be promoting. Will you therefore keep their false Sunday and think to yourself that because there's pure Sabbath on Sunday, and comfort yourself that, well, they're not lining up with God's day, so I'll follow what they'll say and I'll still be able to keep my Sabbath? This is opening the door to confusion, and this, if you do not renounce your point, will end in sadness. And sad to say, if you wait until that moment to find it out, you're going to be swept away in the error of darkness. Please reconsider your foundation. You're not standing on solid ground.